The New York Islanders just got some very good news concerning one of their 2025 first-round draft picks. We'll talk about that and its impact on the team next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Thursday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. And thank you for helping to make Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 till the modern era. So glad you could join us today and talk a little Islanders hockey, and we have got a lot to discuss on today's show. First, big news about one of the Islanders' 3 first-round picks from this past year's draft. We'll talk about the big news and how it impacts the Islanders going forward. Plus, we'll answer your mailbag question about the future of this team and its lineup, and the Olympic hockey men's tournament getting underway, and the 2 Islanders playing in it, going head-to-head in their first game. We'll break that down for you as well. First, let's get started with the good news. And Victor Eklund, the second of the 3 first-round picks the Islanders made in the 2025 draft, after Matthew Darche pulled off that very good trade for Noah Dobson, getting in return Emil Heineman and a pair of first-round picks, one of them becoming Victor Eklund, the other one Kashawn Aitchison. Of course, the Islanders also selecting Matthew Schaefer first overall in this year's draft with their own pick. And Schaefer's already, as we all know, in the NHL. Aitchison right now in juniors, but Victor Eklund, who has been playing over in Sweden, he is basically, the announcement is that Eklund will be coming to North America for the 2026-2027 campaign. And, you know, he's made nice progress this year. He started off the season in a junior league in Sweden, ended up playing in the World Junior Championships in December and January, had 2 goals and 8 points in 7 games, was a +4 representing Sweden, and then moved up from the junior league to a pro league, and in 34 games, he's got 4 goals and 16 points, so basically a point every other game. But keep in mind, generally speaking, the scoring in Sweden tends to be a little bit lower than it does in North America. So those numbers are not bad at all. And Eklund, we still do not know exactly what this is going to mean right away, because clearly the Islanders have been in touch with Eklund and his people, and the plan is that he comes to North America for training camp next year. And Eklund has basically said, hey, they look for my ice time and look how I do in the games, and they're always texting me, speaking about the Islanders front office. They're very nice. I can't wait to play with the Islanders next year. And what are you getting in Victor Eklund? Well, if you've seen his brother play, you have an idea of the kind of guy Eklund is. And the thing I love about this kid is that I think he is an ideal fit in a Patrick Waugh / Matthew Darche kind of a system, because he's got good speed. He forechecks like the devil. He handles the puck very, very well. Basically, defenders often retreat when he has the puck because he is fast, he is strong on the puck, and he's a pain in the rear end to play against with his forechecking and just his tenacity. He helped Sweden win gold at the World Juniors this year and scored in the gold medal game, which again shows he's a clutch player. And again, the thing that I love about him when he moved up from the junior league to the SHL, which is more, again, a more low scoring league, generally speaking. He's 8th on the team in scoring, even though he didn't start the season there. And he has a mentality to get to the net, to go to those dirty areas, to be in those high danger areas and to fight for position. So that is, again, really good. The fact that he is playing against grown men, against adults in Sweden. Yeah, the rink size is different. The angles are different. I get that. But by playing against adults now, he's learning what's going to work against adults and what's not going to work. Because, and everydayers, I've mentioned this a few times, that when you're playing in juniors, you can make a move 1-on-2 or 1-on-3. You're the only guy in the zone. You could fake out 2 or 3 guys, make a move, put the puck on the net, score a goal, or create a scoring chance where you were outnumbered. And maybe that works, let's say, 50% of the time in juniors. You go up to the AHL and maybe it works 30% of the time. And then you get to the NHL and it works 5%, 10% at most of the time. It's not going to work. But by playing against grown men, Eklund is going to learn a lot about what he can and cannot do at a higher level. Now, again, I'm not saying that this league in Sweden is on the same caliber as the NHL, but it's a very good league. And it is a league where he's playing against adults. And the beautiful thing is that he has shown a work ethic in order to fit in order to play that tough, gritty style, that fast-moving style that the Islanders need and want. And I think that's really, really good. So now the question becomes, what is his future? And I think part of the question is he'll come to training camp as a former first-round pick. I have very little doubt that he will be playing in preseason games, that he'll get a long look in training camp, and we'll see where he's at. Can he make the big club right away? We'll see. He has to prove he's ready. I think there is at least a 50-50 chance. I'll even say it's 60-40 that he starts next season in the AHL. I might want to say in Bridgeport, but Bridgeport may be in Hamilton. We still don't have official word, but that's the rumor. So let's just say AHL for now. So I think he may start the season in the AHL, but I think by the time the calendar flips to 2027, that he will probably be on the big club. And that is encouraging, to say the least. I think he is closer to being NHL ready. And I think part of the reason is what he's shown so far, the style of hockey that he plays, his ability to be clutch, his ability to play a 200-foot game. He is not someone who neglects the back checking and picking up his man and, not allowing odd man rushes the other way. I think this is a player that Islander fans are quickly going to learn to really appreciate and love, and that while he's not likely to come to the Islanders and, let's say, score 25 goals as a rookie, even if he starts the season on Long Island, I think he starts on a third, maybe even a fourth, but more likely a third line role, maybe kills some penalties. If he's doing really well, maybe he makes it to the second power play unit. But overall, the fact that Eklund is coming sooner rather than later, and there will be an adjustment. Let's add this as to why I think he starts the season in the AHL, more likely than not. He's adjusting to a new rink size and width, really. But that changes the angles that you take, the moves that you make if you're trying to fake someone out, the way where you shoot the puck from relative to where on ice you are to get that best angle. That changes. You're moving to a new country with a slightly different culture and a different language. There are adjustments both on and off the ice that he has to make. But this kid is mature. He is talented. He does things the right way historically. And I am eager to see what he brings to the table next season. So good news there for the New York Islanders. You've already got Schaefer up. Eklund is coming. What happens next with Aitchison, the third of the three first-round picks? Does he spend another year in juniors? Does he try to make the AHL next year? We have to see what his choices are, and maybe he even plays well enough to make the Islanders, although I think most of the time defensemen take a little longer. But some of these prospects, some of these players who we've been talking about as being a big part of the future for the New York Islanders, they're coming, and they're coming soon. And I think that is really important and really good for the future of this hockey team. We have got more to get to on today's show. We'll answer one of your mailbag questions about the direction this team is headed in. Plus, we'll talk about the first game for both Islander players in the Olympics and for our Islanders' birthday of the day. A defenseman who was with the Islanders in the mid to late 1980s. Let's see if you can guess who this Scarborough, Ontario native is. We've got all that and more next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. I love how simple Quo makes everything. The whole team can call and text from one shared business number so nothing gets missed. And it works right from your phone or computer, and you could even keep your existing number. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnhl. That's QUO.com/lockedonnhl. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. If you haven't already, it is time to check out the new Everydayer Club. You'll get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Islanders, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. And you'll get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. And I am in that chat. Some other great hardcore Islander fans are in there, and it's always fun to talk Islanders hockey with all of you. So check out the link in the show notes or go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer for more information. We go back to the mailbag, and the Olympic break is a great time for that. So Timothy from Columbus, Georgia, has a question. What do you think this team looks like next season? Eklund confirms he's playing in North America, so either in the AHL or the NHL. I have to think some of our forwards will be traded or just allowed to walk as free agents. And, Timothy, first of all, thank you for the question. It's a good question. It is also, for what it's worth, not an easy question to answer. And I'll tell you why. Because we have Matthew Darche as GM and not Lou Lamoriello, things are a little bit different now than they were a year ago. With Lou, love him or hate him, like the way he built the team or don't like the way he built the team, he was predictable in a lot of ways. You knew he wasn't going to trade, quote unquote, his guys. He was going to sign guys to long-term contracts, whether it was a good idea or not. He gave away a lot of no-trade clauses and modified no-trade clauses. And you knew free agency was going to be quiet. You knew that trades could happen, but you weren't going to hear about them necessarily. Even signings could be delayed. All of that, was basically what we knew. This is going to be Matthew Darche's first full off season running this team. And we know less about what his approach is going to be because he hasn't been a full-time GM before. And also, he doesn't have the same loyalty to some of the players that Lou drafted or signed, or at least not the same way that Lou did. So I think you got to look at this. I think it's easier to say, who is going to be here. Barring a big shock, you have Barzal and Horvat. Kyle Palmieri is scheduled to be back. Now, you could trade him after July 1st when he has a 16-team list of where he doesn't want to go. But I think Palmieri, with 1 year left on his contract, will most likely start the season on Long Island. Jonathan Drouin. Does he get traded at the deadline? Does he get traded over the offseason? It may depend on how well he plays the rest of the year, if he is still an Islander. We'll have Simon Holmstrom. Casey Cizikas has 1 year left on his deal. We'll have Emil Heineman. Cal Ritchie will be an Islander. Kyle McLean has 1 year left on his deal. But again, how ironclad is that? You have a couple of RFAs who I think are up in the air. Shabanov and Mark Gatcomb. Wouldn't be surprised if Gatcomb is signed to another 1 or 2 year deal, maybe a two-way deal, but we'll see. And then among the forwards, you have more question marks. Does Ondrej Palat come back next year? What happens to Anders Lee and J.G. Pageau? Is Pierre Engvall traded or bought out with still 4 years left after this year on that dreadful contract that Lou signed him to? Shabanov, I don't know if he comes back. It depends, I think, on how he plays the rest of the way. Has he shown enough to be back? I'd say it's 50-50 at best at this point. On defense, Carson Soucy and Tony DeAngelo are UFAs. Don't know if either of them will be back. Adam Boqvist is an RFA. Don't know if he's going to be back. Schaefer will be there. Romanov, if he's healthy, is back. Polak and Pelech are back. Mayfield still has a full no-trade clause. And, 4 more years on his deal. Could they trade him? Maybe. I don't think it's quite Kashawn Aitchison time yet next year, but I think Isaiah George has a good chance of being up with the big team next year. I know Sorokin will be back. The goaltending situation, David Riddick is a UFA. Maybe they bring him back. Maybe they don't. Semyon Varlamov, again, I don't think you can count on him. I think Eklund finishes the season, and then you have guys like Prokhorov, who's probably another year or two away. Gleb Veremyev could be an Islander next year. We have to see about that. There are other guys who might come up, but those are sort of the guys you wonder about. And we'll see how it all plays out. But there's still a lot more unknowns than knowns right now, because I think the bottom line is that if the Islanders stumble down the stretch and miss the playoffs, the offseason looks one way. If the Islanders make the playoffs and get eliminated in the first round, or maybe win a round and go out in the second round, I think it looks a different way, where there are less changes being made, more changes if they miss the playoffs altogether. And if they go on a long playoff run somehow, if, let's say, Ilya Sorokin gets red hot, that changes the equation, and there's probably fewer changes, and the chances of extending Anders Lee and or JG Pageau increase if you go on a long playoff run. And I also get the feeling that we're going to see trades this offseason, because I think that Darche is still looking to build that long-term contending team that we've talked about and that he talked about since he got here. Does that happen? You know, how fast the turnover on the roster is will depend on a lot of things. So, going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And, you know, Timothy, it's a great question. It's, like I said, hard to answer right now with a lot more specifics. But I think that this is a question that I'm willing to readdress after the Islanders season. And when I say season, if they make the playoffs, when their playoff run is over. If you want to send me this question or a variation of it again, I will be happy to re-examine it when we get there. So please keep that in mind, and thank you so much for the question. Sorry I couldn't be more specific, but there's just a lot to sort through. I think we'll see 2, maybe 3 young players added to this roster, a couple of veterans gone, and then, you know, a lot of questions as to what this team does between now and, let's say, July 1st. That will determine a lot about what the future looks like. We have got more to get to on today's show. The Olympic men's hockey tournament gets underway, and both Ondrej Palat and Bo Horvat will be in action against each other in their first game. We'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, we'll have our Islanders birthday of the day next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The winter games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking in for events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. That's why following the winter games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The drama of curling matches that start slow and somehow get intense fast, speed skating races decided by inches, hockey games that feel different right from the opening faceoff, even niche events become much must-watch when you're fully locked into the competition. FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. So, the Olympic men's tournament got underway on Wednesday, but the 2 Islanders who are playing in it are going to face off in the very first game that they have at this year's Olympics. So you have Bo Horvat, who represents Canada, and Ondrej Palat representing Czechia, and they are going to go head to head in the very first match for both teams. So it's Thursday, and this is going to be fun. Horvat going to probably center the fourth line. His line mates in practice have been Brad Marchand and Nick Suzuki. He's also gotten some time in practice on the second power play unit and the penalty kill at times. Head coach John Cooper giving him plenty of ice time. Meanwhile, Palat, who just joined the Islanders at the end of last month, he's going to be on the second line for Czechia, most likely with David Kampf and Ondrej Palat. So, going to be interesting. It's a 10:40 a.m. Eastern time start, and it is on Peacock and NBC, so you can try to catch that match. Obviously, Team Canada, a deeper unit. They are among the favorites in hockey, men's hockey right now this year. But Czechia is always one of those teams that kind of can be a spoiler or even a medalist if they get hot at the right time and get some good goaltending. And, maybe this is a little less intense a thing for Islander fans because Palat just joined the team a couple of weeks ago. And even Horvat and Palat have not been teammates for very long. So the camaraderie and that angle of it is a little bit different than it would be if, let's say, Matthew Schaefer was representing Team Canada, or if, let's say Simon Holmstrom would have made the Olympics and go head-to-head with Bo Horvat because they've been teammates for a number of years. It's a little different, but at the same time, seeing both Islander players on the ice going head-to-head against each other is certainly going to be interesting for Islander fans, and I'm looking forward to watching that game. Time now for our Islanders' birthday of the day. Now, we're a couple of days late with this one, but Monday was the 65th birthday of former Islanders defenseman Steve Konroyd, a native of Scarborough, Ontario, 6'1", 195 pounds, originally a second-round pick of the Calgary Flames back in 1980 after 3 strong seasons with the Oshawa Generals. Joined the Flames at the end of the 80-81 season, and then joined the Islanders in the 85-86 campaign, stayed on the island until the 88-89 season when he was traded to the Blackhawks. Later played for the Whalers, the Red Wings, the Senators, and finished his career with 1 game with the Flames. After the 94-95 season, he hung up his skates. 895 career NHL games, 41 goals, 236 points, 863 penalty minutes. Had 10 goals and 25 points in 97 playoff games, including 23 of those with the New York Islanders. More of a defensive defenseman, but a good, solid player for the New York Islanders. One of his best games with the Isles. How about December 11th, 1986? Islanders visiting the old Brendan Byrne Arena in the Meadowlands as they take on the Devils. Kelly Rudy for the Islanders. Alain Chevrier, the goalie for the Devils. And in this game, our Islanders' birthday of the day, Steve Konroyd with the Islanders and Devils tied at 1 in the first period. He and Mike Bossy set up Brian Trottier. That puts the Islanders up by a score of 2-1. And in the second period, as the Islanders grew their lead, Konroyd scores his 3rd goal of the season. Mikko Makala and Patrick Flatley with the assists. The Islanders go on to beat the Devils by a score of 8-4. Steve Konroyd, our Islanders' birthday of the day, he had a goal. He had an assist. He had a +3. He had 2 minutes in penalties, and he scored on his only shot on goal of the game. Steve Konroyd, a dependable, physical, defensive defenseman. He is our Islanders' birthday of the day. If you never miss an episode of Locked On Islanders, then the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Islanders ad-free plus members-only Discord access and more. So head to the link in the show notes or visit lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer for more information. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. If you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could follow the show on X at Locked On Isles. You could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR vs NYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for a little instant insight and analysis, and it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Everydayers, we are back tomorrow. We are going to have, we'll talk a little bit about what happened when Bo Horvat and Team Canada went up against Team Czechia and Ondrej Palat. We'll have a little bit about that. Plus, we'll talk about some season superlatives for the Islanders. Who's the MVP so far? Who's the most disappointing player? The biggest surprise? We'll break down some of those, and we'll have the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings as well. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe, and of course, let's go Islanders!